Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. My name is Steven, and I am the host. Tyler, the first week of training camp officially in the books, just like that. What a wild week of Chargers news and notes and media and everything like that. It's been a fun one. Next week, the pads will come on. Chargers will be in San Diego for a couple practices. So we are, as Jim Harbaugh says, we are a locomotive that has started to chug along in the off season here. What's up, man? How are you doing tonight?
Doing very well. He also mentioned like a callus that is waiting to pop, but you let that heal and do whatever. And
I missed that one.
Which is honestly how I felt watching this aggressively terrible Superman movie that everybody likes. But well, that's a whole other story for another time.
Wow, you went
I hated it. I hated that movie.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it was like amazing, but I had a good time. I like James Gunn, and I thought there were funny parts of it, so I liked it. But I understand why it could be like a lot for some people.
Yeah. So y'all want a spoiler review, between that and like Fantastic Four in a couple of weeks? Like, sure, we'll do that maybe one day because we're just that bored. But that's how I felt about that. But we're here for Chargers football, and I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, there's the Superman takes are all over the map. I feel like I didn't realize that there were so many Zack Snyder fans out there, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So fun day at Chargers training camp again. Pads will be on next week, so there will be a lot more, hopefully more trench takeaways. Although we'll have a couple of defensive trench takeaways, offensive trench takeaways today, but for the most part today, and our takeaways today are related to kind of skill players and things like that, which is nothing new. Usually in the first week of practice without pads, it's kind of how it goes. Before we get into our takeaways from the first week of training camp, of course, I have to tell you about our friends over at PrizePicks. We want to give a personal thanks to PrizePicks for being a very valued partner of the Guilty as Charged podcast. We cannot thank them enough for their support. It's been a fun time to see all of you guys get in on the action, and is the best and easiest way to consume daily fantasy sports. Football season is right around the corner. Basketball season is over, but in the meantime, the action with baseball does not stop. I think there's a Dodgers-Padres series coming up, so you guys can go at it on social media. It's always fun to see that. But you can unite on the PrizePicks usage and help your wallet out there as well. So make sure and step up to the plate with PrizePicks and add your favorite baseball players to your lineup. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, make your call with more or less and play for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. Again, that is 2,000 times your cash today. So best way to do that is to go to whatever app store you use, download the app, use the code GUILTY at checkout, and that will help support our show. It'll help support yourself. Again, that is the PrizePicks app, code GUILTY at checkout. And so hopefully you guys can have a good one. Yeah, unite the PrizePicks usage. I'm pretty happy with that one. That was off the dome, so I'm pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, pretty good. There you go. It brings us all together.
Yeah, we need some unity in our lives. Let's unite around PrizePicks.
Exactly. Yeah, and if we can't bond through that, we can always build the NFLPA for our bonding time.
Oh my gosh. The NFLPA is a disaster. If I were an NFL player, I would be furious that my president was out here billing the company for strip club visits. I can't believe that's a real thing.
Bonding. I don't know what you're talking about. Team bonding.
Fun stuff. As always, NFLPA on point. And the man who decided to hire that individual is going to be the new head. So that's great. The NFLPA is just fantastic. They're just a well-oiled machine now.
Well oiled, all right. That's
that was unintentional.
Anyway,
I'm crying. That was great. Ryan Parsons in here with a super chat to kick us off. Says he got his Supercharger gear in this week and it looks awesome. The merch from everything that they posted online looks fantastic. So I did pre-order some things. I can't wait to get some more. So it should be fun. Hopefully you guys are taking advantage of that as well. Okay, let's get to it. I think we are going to start in the rightful place this week, which is the pass catcher updates. Greg Roman spoke today. There was a lot of things that came out yesterday. The main point here, I think, overall, is that the team is really going to lean into the players that they have now and developing the young players that they have on the roster around Ladd McConkey, who we know what his role is. He's dominated targets so far. But Ladd, Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris, Jalen Reagor, Keandre Lambert-Smith, and Darius Davis are all rotating with the first team offense on a consistent basis. There were a couple reps today that I saw. Big shout out to Jason Delgado for tweeting clips out. I know there's some other ones as well, but he's been kind of the main one that I've looked at. There was like I don't even know his name. He wears number 38, and then obviously Grimm. Like they were, yeah. I don't know, man. They were doing some random back into the roster guys into the rotation tape. But for the most part, the main six are the six that are on screen here. And then I think the interesting thing here about Trey Harris in particular is that Greg Roman kind of compared his usage to Joshua Palmer previously, where he can play X, he can play Z, he can play slot. He said he can play all three positions. They're going to try and figure out how that goes. But he said initially they think his primary role is actually going to be as a Z receiver, not as an X receiver. Obviously, things can change. They've only had 2 days of training camp practice together. But what did you make of his comment about comparing him to Palmer and maybe emphasizing the Z spot initially here?
Yeah, he said Palmer was mostly a Z and then sometimes would work in at X last year. In terms of Trey Harris having that role, that makes a ton of sense. Like they let go of Josh Palmer, they dropped a receiver in Trey Harris. All that makes sense. He can play Z, he can play X, he'd be a big slot. That's fine. I think the part that's a bit of a holdup for me is, okay, Trey Harris at Z can make sense to me. That does make sense to me. Okay, then Quentin Johnston's your X. Yeah. And that to me doesn't seem like the best fit. Now, does everyone just play one role, one side of the football, one thing, that's it? No, of course you can mix and match it. It sounds like, at least with Trey Harris, they're going to do that. But, when Greg Roman was asked, like, okay, who specifically is going to be like the X? Like, who is just your X options there? He mentioned Quentin Johnston and Trey Harris. And if Trey Harris's initial role is more so at Z, you do enough math, a little subtraction here and there, that leaves Quentin Johnston as your X. Yeah. So will he be the primary X? Will he be the primary X all year? I don't know. TBD. We'll see. Could vary by game. Depends on how Trey Harris is, catching up to things as well. But, Trey Harris at Z, I like. Quentin at X, then I don't like. But we'll see how much they mix and match moving forward.
So number 38, who I missed, is DeLavion Campbell. I honestly couldn't tell you who that is, to be honest.
Well, I wish him luck.
Yeah, good luck. Hey, he got some first team reps with Justin Herbert, so unfortunately he wasn't able to take advantage. But yeah, not great. I think part of this is the Chargers trying to kind of ease Trey Harris into things, trying to figure out where exactly they want him. I like that he said that they think he can play all three spots and they can move him around. He didn't get to show that a ton this past year at Ole Miss, but when you go back and watch some of the 2023 stuff, he is getting reps in the slot. He is getting reps on the backside, front side, everything like that. I don't know what led them to be, a little bit more rigid in 2024 with Lane Kiffin. That's usually not the case. But I do think Trey Harris can play all three spots, which I like. I would very much like to see him get some slot opportunities, especially just be able to get his big body, into some slant opportunities, some red zone opportunities from the slot. I think is a really, nice usage there. He did also mention that Jalen Reagor and Keandre Lambert-Smith are getting some X snaps as well. Their body types are just not, they're not X receiver material. Like, can they do it from time to time? Sure. He compared Keandre Lambert-Smith to Brandon Lloyd today, which I think is an interesting comparison. I would think of
specific.
Just because Brandon Lloyd was like such a vertically inclined receiver from like a jump ball standpoint.
Sure.
And that's not really what I think of with Keandre Lambert-Smith, but he coached both of them, so he would know better than I think. But I think the Chargers are really just going to try and settle this rotation down going forward. But I agree with you. I think QJ his best role is as a Z, where he can kind of, do some of the crossing routes, posts, corners, things like that, drags, deep overs, as opposed to being a true X receiver and, running back shoulder fades, go balls, things like that. I don't think that's his best route.
Yeah, I completely agree there.
Also with the pass catcher trend here, Daniel Popper reported on his Substack last night that Tyler Conklin has been the primary tight end in 11 personnel packages, and specifically like 2-minute drill situations, 2-point conversion situations for the Chargers. Basically any situational drill, Tyler Conklin is out there as the main tight end, which I think is to be expected, based off of his production, based off of his career. That being said, Aronde Gadsden had a huge day today. Again, shout out to Jason Delgado and some of the other guys who for posting these videos. The Chargers just posted the video of his big touchdown, but I think that these tight ends, I'm really excited to see how things kind of come together because they all complement each other very, very well. But Conklin is your main pass catching tight end, and I think that's going to continue throughout training camp.
Yeah, no surprise there. Gadsden, I think we highlighted as like an obvious training camp darling prediction option for them, especially without any pads right now. I am very curious to see what happens with Gadsden once they do put pads on and these guys can, tackle or wrap up and play more physical. Because there's no like Gadsden versus air, Gadsden versus a DB who's not trying to press him and hit him or off the line or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all great. Like we knew that was going to be great. He stood out so far, had a really solid day today, at least 3 catches from videos, if not more. We'll see with Eric Smith, Daniel Popper. But when things like the pads come on, like what is his role? How involved is he? And when they have, an entire drive by Justin Herbert or several drives, or they're trying to work certain things, like it's obviously going to be a lot of Dissly and Conklin. How long does it take for Gadsden to work in, if at all? How much? Like they kind of know what they have in Conklin, but he also needs to have chemistry with Herbert.
Yeah.
So we'll see how long it takes Gadsden. But for now, like he's standing out. Greg Roman's very confident he'll, be ready to go with his usage and learning the playbook by week 1.
Yeah, which is great news to say. He said that he thinks tight ends have more on their plate than any other position on offense than quarterback because they have to know so many different roles. You have to know all the run game stuff, potentially inline run game stuff, off the line, pass catching, will you get flexed out from things like that? So if you focus in on like how they're being used right now, I think it makes a lot of sense where Conklin is being used more over the middle of the field, and then Gadsden is being given like the wheel routes and the corners, the posts, the flat routes where they can use his athleticism a little bit more. Conklin had a couple catches today against Derwin James from what I saw in the videos where, one was like a contested catch situation, great coverage by Derwin, and Conklin just kind of plucked it. It was a great throw by Herbert. So I think there's going to be enough usage to go around here. I'm certainly not expecting one guy to come out here and have, 750 yards and 6 touchdown kind of season. But right now, like I think Chargers fans should be very excited about the depth that they have at tight end this season.
Yeah, it's the most like comfortable position group I feel arguably on offense. Not that I think that one of these guys is Brock Bowers, but the sum of the 4 of these guys together, I feel really good about their roles and what they can do for this offense.
Yeah, I agree there. Tyler, any other thoughts about the pass catchers?
Nope. I think that's mostly it. There's been some sprinkling of good stuff here and there from like our Brendan Rice had a touchdown today. Apparently there's a backup quarterback competition that's actually maybe sort of happening.
Sure.
To me, that just kind of seems like window dressing on the thing that will just end up being a Heineke as the backup quarterback or the primary backup quarterback. But it was at least mentioned.
It was at least mentioned. Greg Roman said it's a good, fun competition right now. Again, I think the preseason having that extra game is just going to mean a lot of extra stuff today for what this group is going to be. And again, I think it'll be much better going forward. Real quick, because it's being brought up in the chat here from Sap Bebow. He says that Slater missing today just feels kind of suspicious. I don't know. Greg Roman says that it was a rest day for Mr. Rashawn Slater. Still in the building, was working out during the practice, doing all of the meetings. He is there. They had a follow-up question. Is he injured? Is he banged up? Anything like that? And he was very adamant that he is healthy and he is ready to go. It was just kind of a veteran rest day. So a little early for a veteran rest day, and he was the only one. But Greg Roman is not one to stretch the truth there. So I think we're all good there with Rashawn Slater.
Yeah, definitely odd. I was worried because why is he out? I understand Becton had the ring thing yesterday, which gave me my own heart attack. He was gone today. I'm assuming he's coming back.
Yeah, they got to do a better job of like advertising that this is the ring day, because I feel like this happens every year. Like, some fan base is watching a new player miss a practice, and then it's just at the ring day.
Yeah, F.S. Gandhi saying that the concept of Rashawn as the veteran makes me feel old. I don't like it. Yeah, so I hope everything is fine. We've been at practices where there's been rumblings like, Rashawn's kind of like working through, not through something, but like they had a bit more like prep work for him or needed to work through something to just take care of his body. This is, someone they've been aware of since the draft, not this regime, but the Chargers in general, of the back concerns. Not that it's ever been an issue, but just monitoring that and make sure that's okay. Whatever it is, I'm glad he's at least healthy if we take their word for it. And it's not a holdout.
Yeah. So Joe Alt moved over to left tackle today. Looks significantly bigger, by the way. That press conference video looks like he's got some much more lean mass to his frame a little bit. Shoulders a little bit broader, triceps popping out a little bit. So Joe Alt looks good, man. So he played left tackle. Trey Pipkins played right tackle today. We'll talk about the center rotation, things like that here in a minute, but no worries about Rashawn Slater, folks. It was a rest day according to Greg Roman.
Yes.
All right, our next conversation here is from yesterday, which is the Deion Henley hype, and kind of working into today as well. So Jesse Minter said in his press conference yesterday that Deion is going into this year on a little bit of a different level. Like, we don't want to take this guy off the field. He ended an interception yesterday, which was like his own interception. And then today he had a tip drill interception where Dante Jackson and Denzel Perryman kind of met at the receiver. Ball went up in the air. Deion Henley gets the interception. So very, very good start for Deion. Obviously, again, no pads, things like that. And we could talk about what went down in practice, but there's a very clear emphasis from Deion Henley on taking the football away this year, which I think will pay dividends in terms of like his recognition, like him being in the receiving votes category on Jeremy Fowler's list was kind of crazy to me. But so far the emphasis of taking the football away is showing up for Deion Henley in training camp.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm glad he emphasized that even last year. Daniel Popper had an aside where he went up to him and was like, everyone's calling me a coverage linebacker, but I'm not making these like specific plays in coverage. And then he does against the Raiders, and it's like, yay, all that great stuff. He had, in terms of like a film watch perspective and like how we feel about him, or any of like the film guys who watch him, they see he's got 20 pressures and passes broken up last year. Those are great things, but only 1 sack, 1 interception. So again, like the plays are there, but the specific plays that get you into that real conversation, those weren't there. So now him this past couple of days, it's kind of more of a Herbert error, but also a great read by Henley in coverage there, like great interception there. Another pass broken up, which is on the screen right here. He had a tip drill interception today. Like, just keep stacking those. Dan Henley, the pass rusher, has like always been very, very good. These interceptions that are starting to come in chunks, and hopefully will be in chunks during the regular season, are going to push him to all pro, I hope.
Yeah, I agree there. So Daniel Popper and Eric Smith they provided a really nice breakdown. They said that they were like right in front of this exchange. So there was a 2-point conversion attempt yesterday where it sounded like the backers were kind of in a cover 3 situation where they both had the hook responsibilities, and Justin Herbert just kind of fired the ball right in between the two of them. And they had some kind of exchange between Henley and Denzel Perryman where Perryman kind of undercut, and he was expecting Dan to kind of go over the top. And that allowed Herbert to have the space, which he also has a freaking bazooka for an arm. That allowed Herbert to be able to make the throw. And so the 2-point conversion session ends. They go for a water break, and they start looking at the film with Jesse Minter, and they're kind of analyzing what exactly went wrong. And then when they get back into a starter on starter situation, the same exact situation occurs. You have kind of a crossing pattern over the middle, and Deion Henley is right in perfect position to get the interception. And Mitchell was asked about that exchange afterwards, and he said that Deion is just like the attention to detail from Deion this year has really ratcheted up a notch, and he's just really seeking to take that next step. He's doing the necessary work from a film watch standpoint. He's becoming a leader on defense, as we've heard. And I think like this is the difference, right? Like these are the margins you have to work with to go from a really good starter to an all-pro player. And right now it's great news that Deion is doing these extra things. He has the mentor with Denzel Perryman. He has a great defensive coordinator. He has Derwin James, all pushing him to take this next step. And again, so far so good. And I do think this is going to carry into the season, obviously, as we've talked about. Really the sky is the limit for Deion Henley.
Yeah, very excited to see where he goes. Thankfully, a third round pick that has paid off. Also can't see it, but like a player that you and I like felt pretty good about. Not that we had a first round grade on him, but like you could see what he could do. He just had to get there. Thankfully, he has Jesse Minter as his coach these past couple of years, and clearly and Navarro Bowman, of course. And that's just pushed him to this status. And everything just seems to be coming together. Clearly, like the talent was there. I think for the most part, everyone liked him as a prospect. Clearly good in coverage, has a great coach, has a great position coach, has a great defensive coordinator, has Derwin James working with him. Maybe not the most talented defensive line, but I think guys that will keep him free, good safeties on the back end. Like he's in a very good spot to become not the face of the defense. That will be Derwin James for a while, but definitely one of their star players.
Yeah, but I do think it's trending towards him being the one after that. Derwin and Khalil right now are the two faces, and then in an ideal world, Deion and Thule kind of become like the next two there. So we haven't heard a ton about Thule yet. There's been no pads, things like that. The Chargers players will get to do some one-on-one work on Monday, so that should be exciting as always. Joe Alt was talking about that today. So pads change a lot, but you always like to see a player like Deion Henley making these kind of plays without the pads, because this is all reactionary stuff. This is not like, he has to go hit somebody, things like that. So we know he can cover. We know he can match up man-to-man coverage, but making these extra plays will just go a really long way for him.
Yes. We'll have to pass up Frankie Luvu's 42 pressures and 9 sacks last year.
Which, like, I don't know if that's going to happen again, but we'll see. We need to get Bobby Wagner's PR team, because they're on like a generational run right now. Bobby Wagner getting all pro votes and being in the top 70 of that NFL top 100 in the year 2025 is crazy to me.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, he's got like the Charlie Whitehurst, just great PR, good contracts, kind of team going for him.
Okay, before we continue here, our audio audience is going to take a quick break, and then our YouTube audience is going to continue right along. Quick little shout out here to some super chats before we finish out here. But Putts and Bolts, fantastic name, says, do you expect Hampton to be RB1 now?
Unless Najee Harris returns like next week or within like the next couple of weeks. Yeah, I think once you hit the preseason, which is 12 days from now, Omarion Hampton should be expected to be RB1. Could that change? Maybe Najee Harris is like, he works his way back week 2, 3. Maybe they're making more of an even split. Sure. But for now, Hampton should be considered RB1.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We haven't talked about this a ton, but Rocket Sanders has not been at practice after the first day. No idea what's happening there. We don't know if it's an injury related thing. But this has allowed Kamani Vidal to get a lot of snaps with the first team offense. It sounds like he's kind of the main like pass catching running back right now. So, again, we'll see if Rocket can kind of come back next week. They have 4 preseason games to sort this out. But missing practice for a guy who's on the fringe of the roster is never great. And so hopefully Rocket Sanders is okay and can get back out there very soon.
Yeah. No Najee Harris, who's, can catch passes. No Raheem Sanders, Rocket Sanders. Yeah, Vidal, we had him making the roster, I believe, or did we end up with 3?
Yeah, we did.
either way, he's at least penciled in as RB4 right now, and good for him. I know they've been excited about him. We just weren't so sure.
Yeah. Anthony says, thank you for your work, fellas. Appreciate Anthony for jumping in here and sending in a super chat.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And then Miss Andrea Schoen says, great work, guys, with the championship trophy there. So did she go with you guys to the Superman?
Yes. My family and my wife also did not like the movie. My whole theater did not like the movie. People left the theater and like people were on their phones. They didn't like the movie. People were talking. It was like, wow, everybody in my theater just didn't like it. It seemed the laughs didn't get many, like it wasn't a big laughter. It was a packed theater, but it's just like everybody didn't like it. I don't know what happened.
Wow. Interesting. My theater had people standing up and clapping at the end, and yeah, it was a very different experience. Very different experience. All right, let's get back to it here. Our next conversation, I mentioned this earlier, the offensive line group. Zion Johnson is having a little bit of some growing pains with the move to center, at least from a snap operation standpoint. Daniel Popper and Eric Smith both talked about that there was a bobbled snap a couple of times with Zion Johnson. And then when they were in the 2-minute situation, Zion Johnson did snap the ball way too high, which Justin Herbert is 6'6", so though that's not a great thing.
Pretty tall.
That's a very high ball. Obviously led to a busted play. Popper specified that the first bobble didn't necessarily seem to be Zion's fault. But it just kind of shows, I think, that this is going to be an adjustment for Zion Johnson. He's obviously never played center before. Can this improve? Yes. Is this the end-all, be-all situation? No. Even Creed Humphrey, for how great he is, him and Patrick Mahomes have some struggles from time to time from a snap exchange standpoint. Mm-hmm. But again, you like to see somebody kind of hit the ground running here a little bit, and the team is saying all the right things, but they're in a situation where they cannot afford to have snap operation issues. And so if this is something that continues, then it doesn't matter how well Zion's like calling the protections and how much more they think he can be amplified as an athlete. If he can't execute the snap operation, none of that matters.
Right. Zion's biggest problem is not all 60 plays. It's just the one bad play he's had usually like per game or every couple of games. If that turns into a blown pass protection to just, I snap the ball into the dirt, then you basically still have the same issues. He's still having at least that one glaring bad play. And then also there's some other things going on. Do I think he'll snap the ball in the dirt once a game? I hope not. But again, he's never played the position before, so we don't really know how this is going to work. Ultimately, because Bozeman was the starter first day of OTAs, first day of training camp, I think I just kind of know where this is going, and I'm almost kind of annoyed by like this at this point. Like if Zion wins it, great. To me, this just kind of reeks of like, oh, we didn't really actually get this right. Like we messed up on center and backup center, or center of the future, I should say. And so let's just try this because we messed up. I don't really blame Harbaugh or Roman for this, or Nick Hardwick or whoever. It's really just like a Joe Ortiz problem. Like he did not give them a center of the future to really lean on here. Now they gave him Andre James, but apparently like he's not a very good center or something. I don't know. Like him to not even be in this competition is a little strange to me, but whatever. Yeah. I'm not mad at Zion for having a snap issue. And again, it was only like one clear Zion snap issue, but it's just, you want to, like you said, you want to see him take off and like be really, really good from the jump. They're not even in pads. There's no actual like contact right now. So you want to see him at least just be perfect through that. And for him to just have that issue is just, it's just starting to trend towards Bozeman being the guy, which I feel has been the case from the jump. This has been very fun and cute. They believe in Zion. What they're saying publicly, my goodness. Like you would talk about a PR team for Bobby Wagner. Like these guys love Zion. They'll say nothing but great things about Zion Johnson.
True.
Every single turn. Yeah. Greg Roman's like, I believe his athleticism and the quickness will be highlighted more at center. And I'm hearing all these things and it totally makes sense. But again, the last two times they've opened a portion of their offseason, it's been Bozeman first. I just feel like we're headed for something. It's been very fun, very cute. Cool if Zion Johnson hits at center. You and I would love to be right about something with Zion eventually.
Yeah.
But I just
We
feel
can take a victory lap 4 years later.
Yeah, exactly. At least in your contract year, give us like 1 year, Zion.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. So he was asked like what the logic is about like switching the two players today. And Greg Roman said that they feel like Zion's quickness and his athletic profile, and particularly his ability as a run blocker, can be enhanced more at center, which I don't know. That's very scheme dependent, and I don't know exactly if they're changing things or whatever. But they feel like because Zion is a much quicker athlete than Bozeman, I would assume, and things happen so much faster at center, that Zion can take that next step as a player, and he very well might be able to actually do that. But if these snap operation issues are going to continue to happen, it doesn't matter. This is never going to get to that point. So if Bradley Bozeman is the better snapper, and that's all he is, then you have to give him the spot, unfortunately, just because you're in a situation where you can't afford to have these kind of operational issues where you're doing this in a 2-point drill, and like theoretically, let's say they're in Brazil, right? Game comes down to a 2-minute operational situation, and Zion snaps the ball over Justin Herbert's head. Game over. That's a very important mess up, and not to say that will happen, right? It's not a 1-for-1 situation, but snapping the football is not as easy as people make it out to be.
Right.
And Bozeman has always done this. Like I went back and looked at this because Greg Roman said today, this is just what Bozeman has done his entire career. And literally in high school, he was a center, he was a guard. He was a center, he was a guard. College, center, guard, NFL, center, guard. Yeah. Like he's just switched throughout his time. Zion's never played center in a game before in his entire career. And obviously he played golf for most of his life, which is hilarious to think about. So this is a new thing for him. There's just going to be some growing pains with moving to the position. Herbert and Joe Alt have said that like communication wise, everything is top notch. There's no drop off when they switch those players. That Zion and Bozeman are doing a great job of making sure everything sounds and looks the same. But again, it's you can't have snap issues. It's just not something that they can afford right now.
Yeah, and we got to see what it is. 2 minutes to go in Arrowhead, and granted, we'll know who's the starters by that point. But you know what I mean, like actual game, go, go block this player, all that sort of stuff that's going on with Zion or Bozeman in those games.
Yeah,
at this point, so Jim Harbaugh in the spring, or at least at OTAs, said maybe about 10 practices or so to figure out which of these guys would be the starter. That kind of sounds like that's before the preseason to me. Now, Greg Roman did say there's no timetable on that, and maybe that's true now.
Yeah.
But to me, like, no matter what, I need to see Zion Johnson at center in the preseason before you have any determination of who the starter actually is. But if we're going off of Harbaugh's timeline, this is wrapped up by the end of next week.
Yeah, that's what I think Harbaugh wants, and I think that's what everybody would want, right? But for that, there's going to be padded practices on Monday and Wednesday, I believe, and maybe a third one that I'm forgetting. So you're only getting potentially 3 padded practices before that.
Yeah.
So I just there's not enough information there. Like the Chargers need to put Zion at center in a preseason game. Like I don't really care who plays around him. But that to me would be a really strong indicator of Zion potentially doing this, full time. And again, I don't think we need to rehash everything here, but I think the Chargers want Zion to be center. I think they believe that's where he is best suited.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that can happen, and if the Chargers have enough time to make that happen. But if they had always felt that way, if this group came into last season and watched him and said, we want Zion to play center, I kind of wish they would have just made that change last year. And then we could have potentially seen what that looked like. So a lot of what ifs, unfortunately, around Zion, but whatever happens, hopefully it works out.
Yeah. I'm of two minds with the whole offensive line and kind of what they're doing last year versus this year. On the one hand, I wish they had just done this last year and tried these things last year. Trey Pipkins is our starter. Here we go. Great. This year, Trey Pipkins is actually our swing tackle. I'm going to have Jamari Sawyer playing our backup guard spot. He's going to lose some weight and play there. Like, okay, I'm glad you evaluated, but there was no competition last year. Oops, that went wrong. And then now this, like, we're doing it completely different this year, whole different evaluation of these players this year. And again, like, there's some good to that, but it's also a little bit frustrating. Same thing with Zion. Okay, we love him at center. Wow, his athleticism will shine so much at center. Okay, but like maybe we could have tried that a little bit last year. And they're trying him at center this year with Andre James on the roster, like an actual backup, if not starting center. The last year was like Brendan Hymus, Mustafa, Bucky Williams. We won't try Zion at all there. Let's just let him focus on left guard. Now contract year, we're kind of flip-flopping. I don't know. They know they will forget more football than I could possibly learn in my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
But it's just an odd situation.
It is. Alex asking, was the OL stunt issue last season mostly on tackle guard or guard center combos? Coaches think Zion at center fixes the stunt issue, and that's why it's so key. It can, but the way that NFL defenses are using stunt packages these days, they will highlight whoever they think the weak link position is. And if that's Zion at center or Zion at left guard, they don't really care. You'll change the stunt packages where maybe instead of just like a tackle and an end, you'll have two pickmans and then a guy will loop all the way around. And you're going to make things as muddy as possible for whoever you think the weak link player is. And unfortunately, that was the main problem, was the exchanges happening between Zion and Bradley Bozeman or Zion and Rashawn Slater. It was just unfortunately that side. Like, teams looked at Trey Pipkins playing guard for the first time and were like, we're okay here. Let's go to the other side, which I think says a lot, unfortunately, for what they thought of Zion and Bradley Bozeman.
Yeah. So we'll see how much it fixes things. Sometimes like we won't be able to tell from the preseason. Like I am not sitting there pretending I know what the hell's being called.
Yeah.
So they'll have to,
or who's playing in those games.
Right. Exactly. So we'll see. So in terms of like actual number of practices till the preseason game, 3 this week. In week 2, there are 6, and then 2 more before their preseason game. So you're going to get 11 practices in total with Zion before the preseason game. I'm hoping that they don't announce a starter before at least the first preseason game.
I don't know if they will make an announcement. I think we'll just that week in practice, it will just be kind of set in stone. So I don't know.
Yeah. So not necessarily an announcement, but like they're going to pick somebody. Hopefully they do it after our preseason game.
Yeah, I agree. All right, our last main topic here is the defensive rotations that have been occurring. Primarily, we're going to focus on defensive tackle, linebacker, and the secondary situation. First and foremost, with defensive tackle, according to Daniel Popper, Deshaun Hand is at least starting out as defensive tackle 1. Jesse Minter spoke very glowingly about him as a leader, as his ability as a technician. Everything sounds very good here. Deshaun Hand and Tier Tart are getting the bulk of the first team snaps right now, which again is not really a surprise. They're the 2 veterans in the group. I think they're probably the 2 best players in the group. And Hand has been getting the bulk of the pass rushing snaps. So the Chargers haven't gone to 3 edge rusher looks a ton yet in practice. Again, that's probably something that happens once Pats come on. But when that does happen, Deshaun Hand is their other defensive tackle, their only defensive tackle, I should say, that is on the field at that time. Last year, that was Morgan Fox. This year, it seems like that is Deshaun Hand. And then the second team right now is Otito Ogbonia and Naquan Jones. So it sounds like those 4 players right now have an early lead in the rotation and how they'll kind of sort things out. Again, a lot can change once pads come on, but early, those 4 seem like the main 4.
Yeah, leaning towards a lot of experience here and or snaps from last year. Otito, we discussed as a person who we think will make the roster because they utilized him so much last year. It's kind of odd, given who they brought in to just kind of dump him after this. But the wild card was Justin Eboigbe because he changed his weight. He's now here in year 2, learned this, learned that. And at least sounds like for now, he hasn't earned the right to be like out there dominating any portion of snaps with the first or second team. So we'll see. He just needs to be the other guy. I have not heard a single thing about Scott Matlock all of camp. I'm sure that'll maybe play into things a bit more during like padded practices.
Yeah.
But for now, like I think Eboigbe's got to, I don't know. Like, so you listened to Daniel Popper's live stream when he talked, or Substack stream, and he talked about this. Was Eboigbe mentioned as like all with this group? Like, is there a world where it is actually just these 4? Like, we debated 5 or 6 last year or last time we talked about this. We think it could be 4.
In terms of making the roster, I think it's at least 5. I don't think they would
Matlock.
Potentially. I still think Eboigbe makes the roster, and Jamari Caldwell obviously would make the roster here.
Oh, dumb. Yeah, that guy, the guy they drafted. Yeah.
No, you're good. So I think in terms of snaps, it could just be these 4, unless one of them is injured.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it sounds like Jamari Caldwell, Jamari Caldwell, Justin Eboigbe, and Scott Matlock are kind of rotating with the third team defense. Again, things can change. Maybe one of these guys gets like a vet rest day and Eboigbe kind of like pops off that day. It is a little disappointing that like they're not even rotating in with the second team defense, according to Daniel Popper. And that to me is like not a red flag, but like maybe like a what's a lighter color than red? Maybe an orange flag, I guess. I like this after the way that the spring went. I would have thought that at least Eboigbe would be rotating in the second team. I understand why Caldwell they maybe would want to like take things slower a little bit. Again, rookie players, they've kind of done that. But it is a little concerning that Eboigbe is not jumping in there with the second team defense right now.
Yeah, that's definitely concerning. Caldwell, I hope, again, it's so early, no pads, no preseason. You know, we're trying to just work on what we got here. I hope Caldwell doesn't have a Justin Eboigbe rookie season.
Yeah, that'd be really disappointing.
A while. Yeah, I get that you have like veterans in front of you. I understand like why he wouldn't maybe play early over these 4, but you spent a 3rd round pick on him. It's not a Eboigbe, early day 3 pick. Like, you spent a 3rd round pick on him with some other pretty good defensive tackle options there as well, or tight ends or in Miles Frazier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully that's not a repeat of last year. I think they feel better about him, but for both of your interior defensive line investments to be team 3 guys right now is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it is kind of disappointing. Max Diaz asking, how did they handle Puna last year? Was he immediately the starter? He was immediately the starter. And like on day 1, when Jesse Minter spoke, he was like, yeah, Puna Ford's awesome. We love this guy. So it's a little different. Like, he's saying that like, oh, Deshaun Hand, we really like his leadership. He did highlight that like his technique looks really good. They think it'll be good, but like it was like right away they're like, we love this Puna Ford guy.
Yeah,
so it's questioning that. Yeah, it's a little different. And I don't think Jesse Minter would just be like, yeah, he sucks, but it was instant with Puna where everybody kind of knew, okay, this guy is a little different than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Moving on to linebacker here again, Deion Henley. He's your linebacker 1, like far and away. When they go to nickel packages, he's the guy. But as it currently stands, Denzel Perryman is the only linebacker that has been taking snaps with the second team defense, with the first team defense. The second team defense is Junior Colson and Troy Dye. Again, no real shocker that those 4 are the main 4. But even last year at this time, they rotated all 4 of those guys in with the first team defense, second team defense. That's not happening right now. Right now, it's Deion and Denzel Perryman who have been dominating the first team snaps, and Junior and Troy Dye dominating the second team snaps. Again, that can change. Pads will come on Monday. Last year, they did rest days for Denzel Perryman quite often, which he's in year, like, what did they say the other day? 11?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But what do you make of the linebacker rotation so far?
It's, I don't know. Can I say it's a surprise? No. Like, if you told me Denzel Perryman, Deion Henley were your 2 linebackers, that makes sense to me. I guess it's just a bit of a surprise that Perryman is dominating first team snaps.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, we would have liked Troy Dye to get mixed in more. I'm sure as things go, he will be. Same with Colson, but that's the 2 they like. And frankly, that is if they're not first team defense, they're first team all yappers on that defense. Like, both those guys are absolutely talkers and communicators. And I kind of think that also matters to them. Not that Troy Dye doesn't like play with any confidence or whatever, but Perryman and Henley in particular are like 2 of the 4 best talkers on the team, I would imagine. So for communication's sake, for the way they complement each other, I see it, but I'm curious how long it will take Like if Troy Dye is always their backup, fine, I understand. But I'm very curious how long it will take Junior Colson to start breaking into that first group, or like who is of the two second team guys, who is that guy that starts to rotate in with the first team? Because like technically Troy Dye earned the right to be that guy. So I'm curious how long it'll take Colson.
Yeah. We talked about Junior Colson as somebody who needs to have a good training camp, and obviously he still could. But I think part of this is they really like the balance that you have with Dayon and Denzel, where Dayon can play sideline to sideline, and Denzel is just like, I'm gonna go forward and I'm gonna hit whoever I see. And like you mentioned the yapping part, I think that's definitely part of it. I think the balance of those two works really well together. Not that the other guys can't play that way. And you mentioned Troy Dye, like we saw him play very well in several games last season when he was needed. But I wonder if they just think like, we're just going to play Denzel on first and second downs, and then third downs we'll rotate the other guys in. We'll play dime, we'll play nickel, whatever. But as long as Denzel's healthy, maybe he's the run defense guy essentially, and is his role.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, I think a couple slides earlier we mentioned Jesse Minter said, like, I don't want to take Dan Henley off the field. You know, Denzel Perryman, Dan Henley, first down or obvious rundowns, whatever, he's in. And then otherwise it's just Henley, and sometimes other guys also kick in. But Henley's basically not coming off the field.
Yeah. Looks like Eric Smith's report was just posted.
I can bring it up on the screen if you want people to read it. Or...
Sure, that works.
Okay, give me 1 second. Hello, audio audience.
Yes, just real quick to wrap up the defensive side of things before we get to Eric Smith's thing, I should say the cornerback rotation is kind of happening as we expected. Derwin James is like the main slot corner. Like it seems like that is trending towards that direction. Everybody else is rotating in. They'll play Tarheeb and Dante Jackson. They'll play Tarheeb and Cam. They'll play Cam and Dante. Dean Leonard got some first team reps today. Everybody is rotating. You know, Jasir Taylor gets some reps here and there. Tarheeb still gets some reps in the slot. The secondary is very much in mix all around, and I think that's the right way to approach it. Jesse Minter said that last year they had so many injuries that guys had to play different roles, and so they're just kind of throwing people into different roles in training camp because that's what happens during the season, which I think is the right approach. So it sounds like all of them have had moments here and there of pass breakups, interceptions, whatever the case may be. But it you know, this is it's a fun group, and I would expect this competition to continue throughout training camp.
Yeah, as a fan, I love the strain it puts on these players. Like, it was so difficult for us to go, like, okay, is it Jefferson? Is it Mickens? Is it Leonard? Is it Bridges? You know, how are they working this group out? I'm from a fan perspective, outside looking in, I love it. It's going to bring out the best in these guys. For those guys, high stress situation. Hopefully they can keep the majority of those guys. I would prefer to keep those guys over a third quarterback, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I agree there. Okay, let's get Eric's report on here. No surprise, rookie Rondé Gadsden is the main option here. He does look bigger, I must say, you know, from pictures and videos and things like that. Along with Joe Alt, it looks like he's put on some good weight here. So again, the third practice, final practice of the weekend here. Rondé Gadsden, the highlight from Eric Smith. Gadsden had 3 receptions Saturday evening, all of which came from Justin Herbert. There was a short route on 7-on-7. There was a seam ball for 20 yards that drew cheers from the fan base. And then there was a chunk connection down the left sideline for a big play. It looked like a touchdown play.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add there?
No, we've mostly talked about him. I'm glad he's continuing, you know, to keep that connection going, working actually with the first team group, but we'll see when the pads come on.
Yeah. The second point was one that we discussed. Dan Henley had an interception today, as well as Dean Leonard. Dean Leonard picked off Justin Herbert for what it's worth. 2 days in a row for interceptions for Dan Henley, as we discussed. Leonard shined earlier in the session of the first play of 11-on-11 session against Herbert's group. This is according to Eric Smith here. Leonard was matched with Jalen Reagor on a comeback route, stepped in front of the pass, taking it to for a touchdown pick 6 situation. So Leonard, as we've discussed, his special teams prowess is very, very well known at this point in time. But if he can continue to put these practices together, then he's going to be very difficult to leave off this roster, man. And he's shown this in practice, right? Like it's mostly just been an injury thing for him. But I think you and I both believe Dean Leonard has more to give on the outside.
Yeah, I completely agree. I hope he makes the roster. I don't know how much defense he'll play. Technically, I hope he plays no defense, but I think he can make the roster.
Yeah, I agree there. And then the third point from Eric Smith, the receivers working on fundamentals. They brought the curtain out, as Jim Harbaugh likes to do, which is a really funny drill. If you've never seen it in person, they bring out this massive curtain. And the point is that the receivers don't have a lot of time to like figure out where the ball is coming from. And I don't know, man. They're the only team I've ever seen do this drill, but Jim Harbaugh swears by it.
Yeah. And it's sometimes good for some players and some for others. Not as good for others. Is that the last point? That's the last point.
That is the last point. Yep. Okay. I think that's everything. Did you have any other thoughts or anything like that?
No, I mean, there's some singles day stuff here and there, but I think we covered most of like the trends and the rotations after 1 week.
Yeah. I should say, and should have pointed this out earlier, apparently Elijah Molden was out on the field off to the side for the first time of training camp today. So sounds like things are trending well there. Would love to get Elijah back out there quickly. And then RJ Mickens has been stepping up, making some plays in his absence. So he was somebody that I highlighted as a dark horse, like breakout guy. I think they're very happy with him so far, and I think he's showing out well through the first week at least.
Yeah, which is great.
Yep. All right, we'll end with some of these other super chats here. Our guy Athir earlier says that the Ranger and Coulson will be the best linebacker duo in the NFL. I think they certainly have the potential to be that. Will that happen this year? Maybe, but there's a couple of great duos out there that they've got to have some established track record to beat.
Yeah, it would be awesome if it was this year, but I think it's a 2026 conversation.
Yeah, and like if Junior Coulson can make the Deion Henley leap and be like an unquestioned starter by the end of the season, that's great. But then we've seen with Deion, like you need that other year, to kind of figure things out and make another leap to really kind of establish yourself there. Gary Rockwell says, any word on that OL pickup from the other league? I know his name is Ryan Nelson. I know he plays tackle. That's about it.
Bringing somebody in is never an issue. I mean, Telesco in the day used to bring in like CFL, XFL players, and they stuck. A few guys actually stuck on the team.
Yeah.
So again, always turning the bottom of the roster, but I'm not going to sit here and think he's going to make it.
Yeah, our guy Ryan Nelson was with the Chargers for a couple seasons. I still like message him on Instagram from time to time. He's like low-key a food content creator now. So
sick.
And he's like I think he was the offensive lineman of the year in the CFL this past season. So good for Ryan. For what it's worth, Corey Stewart, the rookie undrafted free agent from Purdue, has been the second team offensive tackle so far. The Chargers don't really have there's no Alex Leatherwood this year kind of guy. So he's the backup tackle of choice, apparently. That's battling for that last, potential like practice squad kind of role.
Did Savion Washington return to practice, or is he out or on the PUP list?
I think he's on the PUP list.
Okay. So then, Corey Stewart, not that I think he'll make the roster, but he's in pole position for the practice squad tackle spot.
Yeah. So Ryan Nelson probably was signed because of that situation with Savion Nelson, I would assume.
Yeah. And I liked Corey Stewart, the college prospect at tackle, better than Carson Barnhart. Like I thought there was not a ton there, but like a decent gap guy, run blocking type.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, it sounds like Branson Taylor is like firmly ahead of Carson Barnhart, which is the right decision. I think you drafted that guy, so that'd be nice to see him ahead of him. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Dark Samus says that we should keep Zion at center and trade for Quentin Nelson.
Quentin Nelson contract. I am very curious about mining the Colts players when their season ends up going to shit.
Oh, you don't think Daniel Jones can take them to the playoffs?
Is Daniel Jones even the starter?
I would. Anthony Richardson is not currently practicing.
Oh,
you don't know this?
No,
Yeah,
I don't think Daniel Jones is doing that.
So he hurt his shoulder last year and had like surgery in the off season. So he's not currently practicing.
Lovely. Yeah, reverse Chargers problems. They have the running back. They have a great tight end, set of tight ends. They have a pretty good offensive line, a great receiving core, and like the worst quarterback situation in the NFL.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
Quentin Nelson's salary this year is $22 million. Next year, $24 million. That's
a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. Maybe they'll cut him next year. They won't.
Yeah, maybe that's an extra thing. I don't think the Chargers are trading for or adding any starter at this point. I think they could potentially add like a backup.
Mm-hmm.
But like Greg Roman said today that they're like super excited about Jamari Sawyer. They won't give him any snaps with the first team offense unless one of the guys is out.
Yeah.
They love Trey Pipkins. No snaps with the first team offense unless somebody is out. Andre James, we haven't heard literally anything about him. They do not talk about him at all.
Mm-mm.
So I think the starting five is very clearly set. It's just a matter of figuring out where Zion plays, where Bozeman plays for them. But if they were going to make a move for a starter, I think that would have happened long ago.
Yes. Because they are not, they don't have a ton of draft picks next year. We've talked about this before. I think at the deadline, you could see something, not at Nelson. Like you don't really see linemen, starting caliber, expensive linemen traded at the deadline, but I could see them making a move at the deadline, but nothing really right now.
Yeah. Aaron Smith says that Zion's going to be at center because his physical abilities, if you run the ball 40 times a game, throw it 20, and half of those passes are play actions, stunts don't matter. Well, they do when Justin Herbert gets sacked 41 times, which was like significantly higher than any other season in his career. So like, I get what you're saying. And that was what Greg Roman was talking about, that Zion as a run blocker is like the main reason why they're potentially considering this move. But pass protection matters exponentially more than run blocking does from a center standpoint. And if you're still giving up stunts at center, that's a significant issue because that's the quickest way to the quarterback.
Right.
So you've got to be, as a center, you cannot be giving up stunts. Like that is responsibility number one.
Yeah. And Herbert had 536 attempts last year. Sorry, 618 dropbacks last year. So I don't know if it'll be 20 a game.
I think the official number was like they ran it on like 52% of their total snaps, which was like 8th most in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So that part is like they're not going to run the ball that much, like they want to run the football and be better at running the football, but they have Justin Herbert at quarterback and they know that they have Justin Herbert at quarterback. So this is not like this is not what they did at Michigan where they literally ran it against Penn State like 27 times in a row. Part of that was because they could say whatever they want, but they didn't trust JJ McCarthy to go out there. They know that Justin Herbert can go out there and be an MVP kind of caliber quarterback. So they're not going to be a 40-20 run split. Like I don't, and if they are, like, you got to go, man. You can't do that with Justin Herbert at quarterback.
No, and I understand they invested in like Becton and Hampton for the run game, and obviously Najee Harris when he comes back. But like they also got Trey Harris, Conklin, Gadsden. Maybe they're balanced, if nothing else. Maybe let's call it 30-30. But 40-20, it better be good.
Yeah. Aaron says that 20 throws from Justin could easily still net 300 yards. 15 yards per attempt, buddy, is very high and very difficult. So yes, I understand they will run the football more than they pass, but 40-20 that's insane. There's no way.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Herbert's career best yards per attempt is 7.7.
Yeah. Yeah. 15 yards per attempt is I don't know if that's ever been done. Like even like Tom Brady in 2007, I don't think did that.
Yeah, like Trey Harris this year might have 15 yards per attempt because he attempts 2 passes, but that's it.
Now I'm curious. I'm looking at this. Yeah, so 2007, Tom Brady's MVP season where they threw for 50 touchdowns, 8.3 yards per attempt.
All right, what is the highest yards per attempt last year? Take a guess. Who do you think it is?
The highest yards per attempt last year was probably Richardson because he chucked it deep like so much.
Yeah, if you count, well, let's see, with at least 50 attempts, it's Malik Willis with 10.2. Wow. And then an actual quarterback, Lamar with 8.8.
Okay, so I just looked up who holds the record for yards per attempt over their career. I guarantee you will never guess who leads that list.
Are they at least of the last couple of, like the last 2 decades?
Yes, he is currently still in the NFL, but he is a backup.
Oh. Okay. It's not Joe Flacco, is it?
No.
AFC, NFC.
NFC.
Oh God. I don't know. Who is it?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay, that's not what I would have guessed at all.
8.2 yards per attempt.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have guessed that.
Followed by Steve Young, Kurt Warner, Tony Romo, and Philip Rivers.
Rivers makes sense.
Rivers makes sense because he just chucked it deep so much.
For better or worse, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I could have been a good guess.
No chance I ever would have guessed Jimmy G would be the career leader in yards per attempt in NFL history. No chance I would have ever guessed that.
Yeah, that's a surprise. Because who is he throwing to? I mean, I guess yak matters. It's not air yards, but
For what it's worth, there are a lot of current players that could pass him. Patrick Mahomes is at 7.8, Lamar Jackson 7.7. Those are really the only ones that could theoretically pass him. Jalen Hurts is at 7.5, Dak 7.5, Jared Goff 7.5, Joe Burrow 7.5. Where's Justin on this list? Justin's at 7.2 for his career. But yeah, man, Jimmy G.
What was Jimmy G's
8.2.
Okay, I was going to say, so I was looking back at Mahomes to start his career. His first real season was 8.7.
That's crazy.
That was like the Tyreek Hill, just insane, like fuck it and chuck it.
Yeah.
5.
So basically, like anything over 7.5 is like historically good.
Yeah.
I never would have gotten Jimmy G. That should be a trivia question. I should submit that to somebody.
You let me know.
Yeah. Aaron wants to know what Justin Herbert's was as a rookie. Let's see. As a rookie, his was 7.3, and then 2021 was 7.5, 2022 was 6.8, 2023 is 6.9, and then last year was 7.7. So career high last year, 7.7.
Yeah. I love how in 2021 with Lombardi, his ADOT and yards per attempt went up. Yet all we heard that entire year was about how short the passes were.
Yeah, his average air yards per attempt was up. His yards per attempt was up. His yards per game was up. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that Joe Lombardi is probably the best offensive coordinator of his career so far.
Yeah, so far the Lombardi and Frank Smith combo was great.
That was magic. That was fun. That was fun. All right. I think that's going to do it for us today. I don't think I missed any super chats. Dark Samus sent in another one, says, I want Zion overpowering Chris Jones every step. That would be amazing. I don't think there's a single guard in the NFL that can overpower Chris Jones, though.
Not at every step, at least.
No.
But they were sure confident to let Sam Mustafa try that last year by himself.
Oh, man. Hey, Sam, you haven't played guard in 6 years. Here's one-on-one Chris Jones.
Yeah, good luck. Becton will be a fun matchup in terms of a pure power perspective.
Yeah. Becton in the run game definitely can do that. But
yes,
we'll see. Chris Jones played on the edge like 20 snaps in that game. So
yeah, I'm gonna go on a limb and say Chris Jones won't be lining up over Becton. It'll be the other.
it'll be the
Whoever
other way.
the left guard is.
Yes. Whatever elite defensive tackle they play, he will not be lining up against Becton, I don't think. Yeah, the defenses will walk up to the line and see 6'8" Mekhi Becton and 6'9" Joe Alton go, I'm good. I'm going to go the other side.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the other side. Yeah, geez.
Yeah, it's all good.
I hope we're all wrong about this, man. I hope they're just really good.
Me too. All right. That is going to do it for us today. It's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back on Tuesday as usual. So Tuesday we'll have recaps from Monday and Tuesday. I think those are 2 padded practices, if I remember correctly. So hopefully we get some fun takeaways there, some good one-on-one clips from all of the pass rushers versus the 2 tackles and everything like that. Hopefully an extension happens this week. I'm kind of surprised that we're 3 days into training camp and the extension for Rashawn Slater has not yet happened. So hopefully that gets handled over the weekend as well. All right. This has been another episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast. As always, bolt up. We'll see you later.